Currency advanced through preventive development and public education initiatives. Together, we can build a Nigeria and indeed Africa where integrity prevails and corruption has no place. Thank you and God bless you for your time.
Thank you very much. Please, another round of applause. At this point, we'll also want to specially welcome the chairman of the Code of Conduct Bureau,
over cases of investigation and verification. We now use race-based checks and intelligence-led methods for investigation and verification. We have also recorded major successes, including for future both local and international. These reforms show our new approach. We are not only punishing public officers that are breaching the code, but also fixing the system that allows corruption to thrive. We are determined to make real difference in Nigeria. On this important day, we renew our promise to work closely with the
agency tax team and other agencies. Together, we will raise awareness, involve citizens, and fulfill our duty under the African Union Anti-Corruption Convention. On behalf of the Code of Conduct Bureau, I send warm greetings to everyone here. Let us use this occasion to strengthen our resolve to build a nation, honesty, and integrity. Thank you. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you very much. Please put your hands together for me. I especially welcome and also welcome to the table the Executive Secretary and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NATI, Honorable Musa Dalkin Adam. Please put your hands together. So I know that you've settled in. We also want to invite you at this point to come and do a goodwill message. Please put your hands together with me. If you clap, it will look like it's not coming from outside.
Good morning, distinguished participants. Not very good afternoon, of course. I just was trying to get the return for me. As we commemorate the 2026 African Union Anti-Corruption Day, I extend concrete but not like this year's term, together after the promotion of integrity and anti-corruption actions across Africa, the time lay reminder that integrity, transparency, accountability, and good governance remain indispensable to sustainable development. At the Nigerian Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, we remain steadfast in our mandate to promote transparency, accountability in Nigeria's extractive sector, through independent industry audits, beneficial ownership, disclosure, contract transparency, which I love very much. Open data and evidence public. At the moment, Nigeria is undergoing validation process for 20July, and we are having a lot of challenges. But with the special grace of God that our effort of my staff be able to overcome it. In the last 4 years, Nigeria has almost failed because we are asked to go and do corrective actions. And most of the Nigerian players have been messing up. Some of our collaboration partners are not working very well. However, we are doing our best. And then we'll call Nigeria for the validation by the end of September this year. This I enjoy why work in this particular activity and give Nigeria and surrounding better. Total of Nigeria is development. This was only for 19 years for Nigeria. The implication of that, Nigeria is going to meet a lot of investment opportunities. Those of you who are in the industrial petrol and oil and gas and mining sector is very much of their image. Most companies in Nigeria do this implementation, their activities and their investment will be related. So please let us promote Nigeria and let us make sure Nigeria succeed. Was not answered earlier, let us assist partnership approach to actions, especially during this condition. They are very essential to deepening transparency, prevention, corruption, strengthening public confidence, and ensuring that the benefit to Nigeria's country contribute meaningfully to national development. On this important occasion, I want to post the renew their commitment, the values of integrity, accountability, and responsible stewardship of our natural resources, well leveraging ongoing concerns and the EIT expectation to grab national development impact across the sector. Long live Nigeria, and we should all of us success. Thank you.
Let's put our hands together for you. Representative of the Commission to Public Complaints Commission is represented yesterday by the National Secretary of the Public Complaints Commission, Angela Aisha. Please put your hands together. Please let's clap for her again.
For the General Confederation, the Honorable Minister of Justice is represented, the Chairman of Code of Conduct Bureau, Chairman ICBC, the American Head of the Sugar Bacteria, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me to stand on the already established protocol. I have the distinct honor of standing before you here to represent the Honorable Chief Commissioner, Public Complaints Commission, Honorable Bashir Abubakar MFR, and Deputy Secretary General of African Ombudsman Mediation Association. He would have loved to be here because he holds the interagency task team to heart, but unfortunately, due to official engagement, he could not be here. However, he sent in his goodwill message, and I present. Permit me, on behalf of the Public Complaints Commission, Nigerian's ombudsman institution, to sincerely commend the interagency task team and the secretariat, the technical unit on governance and anti-corruption reforms, for once again convening this commemoration. This occasion has continued to serve as an invaluable continental platform for reflection, renewal, the commitment to the ideas of integrity, accountability, and good governance. We warmly endorse this year's theme, scaling up the promotion of integrity and anti-corruption actions across Africa. This theme on all of us to move beyond awareness and take bigger, bolder, and practical steps to build honesty, accountability, and fairness in our institutions and society. The theme aptly reminds us that strengthening the fight against corruption requires resilient institutions, ethical leadership, transparency, and above all, sustained collaboration among stakeholders. It equally reinforces the reality that corruption remains one of the greatest obstacles to sustainable development, economic and social justice, democratic governance across our continent. It is in this spirit that the Public Complaints Commission stands firmly with the interagency task team in advancing integrity, accountability, and the prevention of abuse of office throughout Africa. As Nigeria's foremost institution for administrative justice and the machinery for the control of administrative excesses, established in 1975 by Decree Number 31, now codified as the Public Complaints Commission Act of 2004, and enforced by Section 315, subsection 5B of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. The Commission occupies a distinctive and indispensable place within the nation's accountability framework. Its mandate is as expansive as the administrative landscape of our nation. Wherever public authority is exercised, wherever administrative decisions affect the rights and welfare of citizens, and wherever official actions give rise to grievances, the Commission has a legitimate oversight role. Its jurisdiction extends across virtually every sphere of public administration because administrative excesses know no boundaries and may arise wherever authority is exercised without accountability. Beyond government individual complaints, the Commission similar infractions. Where in the course of its investigation, the Commission discovers that a crime had been committed, it reports its findings to the appropriate authority or recommends prosecution in accordance with Section 7, subsection 3 of the Public Complaints Commissions Act. Likewise, where the conduct of a public officer warrants disciplinary action, the Commission makes appropriate reports and recommendations to the competent authority pursuant to Section 7, subsection 4 of the Act. These interventions are fundamental to the fight against corruption, as more often it takes roots in unchecked administrative abuse, disregard for due process, abuse of discretionary powers, and the gradual erosion of accountability. Through impartial investigation, mediation, conciliation, and constructive engagement, the Commission not only secures redress for aggrieved persons, but also strengthens institutional integrity, promotes administrative fairness, and contributes to more responsive governance and efficient public service delivery. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Public Complaints Commission firmly believes that integrity begins in the everyday conduct of public officials, in the responsiveness of institutions to ordinary citizens, and in the consistent practice of accountability in public administration. This is the the unique contribution of the Ombudsman institution to scaling up the fight against corruption. As a committed member of anti-corruption tax team, the Commission also recognizes, as this forum was created, affirm that no single institution can eradicate corruption alone. The synergy envisioned in the Interagency Tax Team's 2009 statement of commitment, bringing together anti-corruption agencies, oversight institutions, law enforcement bodies, the judiciary, civil society, the media, and citizens, remains as relevant today as it was then. By combining our strength in the areas of investigation, prevention, in the areas of investigation, prevention, public education, and enforcement, we can achieve greater impact for Nigerians and contribute meaningfully to Africa's shared goal of building ethical and accountable society. The Commission will continue to expand access to its services, strengthen collaboration with all members of the tax team, and use every available tool, including technology, scale up its core mandate to building integrity and promoting administrative justice. It is our sincere hope that the deliberations of this high-level seminar will generate practical and innovative strategies for incorporating the fight against corruption across Africa, and that every institution represented here will leave with renewed determination to strengthen ethical leadership, deepen public trust, and promote a culture of integrity throughout our society. Once again, I express our profound appreciation to the Interagency Tax Team and the Technical Unit on Governance and Anti-Corruption Reforms for this invitation, and reaffirm the Public Complaints Commission's continued commitment to the collective pursuit of integrity, accountability, and good governance. Thank you. Bashir Al-Wara, the Honorable Chief Commissioner for Public Complaints.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Another round of applause. We had a little discussion over the next person I'm about to invite. I need to be careful so that I appropriately correctly introduce people. Only yesterday I was at an event and I noticed that people have their name, but the fifth one, the doctor, was written with small letter. So I went up to him and said that this is your doctor, is it academic or medical? So he just said, my son, leave me alone, I'm a native doctor. Well, the next person, I have not been able to agree as to his title, but I'll leave it the way he wrote it. He's the head of program, International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance, Nigeria, IDEA, PROLAC, the LADI plan. Please put your hands together for him or take them up. Let's clap for him, please. Honorable Attorney General of the Federation, the chairpersons of the anti-corruption agencies, my sister 10JUL26 Tuga, and all the members of the interagency task team. I would like on this occasion of the 2026 African Anti-Corruption Day. Corruption remains one of the formidable challenges that we are facing in the course of the social, economic, and democratic development of Nigeria, impacting on public trust. Addressing this measures was proactive, equality, and transparency. This year's theme, scaling up the promotion of integrity and anti-corruption actions across Africa, therefore serves as a powerful call for collective action by all levels of society to implement, deepen, and expand measurable integrity building measures across the country. Some suggestions will include the fact that we need more of our government agencies, faith-based organizations, and traditional authorities
to enforce stricter internal accountability measures. Civil society, the academia, the media, and private businesses to continue to advocate more and to practice transparent operations in their dealings with members of the public, and for our families and individual citizens to build and uphold cultures of honesty, recognizing that every citizen plays an active role in reporting and preventing corruption. And we must also add that every small act of integrity matters. It is those small things that we do that will build and sustain the actions that we need to take towards rescuing our nation from the stranglehold of corruption and building a society where transparency matters. And we should be a bit more deliberate in identifying and recognizing individuals and institutions that demonstrate acts of courage in integrity. At the rollout and international idea, we would like to commend the tireless effort of all the anti-corruption agencies, civil society organizations, media, and civic leaders across the continent for their dedication to building transparent societies. The fight against corruption knows no borders, and our united front is our greatest asset. For those of us that are in the front line of the work, especially for the anti-corruption agencies, an example in integrity should start with us, as we used to say that we must walk the talk. Let us use today's event to renew our shared commitment to zero tolerance for corruption. By promoting accountability, we are not just securing a prosperous and equitable future for our generations, but we are ensuring that this nation is sustained for generations to come. I wish all of us a highly productive deliberations and a successful commemorative event. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Please, let's put our hands together for me. May I now invite Director of Center for Democracy and Development, CDD West Africa, Dr. Garuba Dauda. Please put your hands together for me. Let's appreciate him. He's coming from far height, and we thank him for what he's doing with his team. Thank you very much. Another round of applause. Then 200. It's a pleasure to be with all of us this morning. And permit me to excuse the protocols. I know this kind of development of some of us they are doing general, none of that dignitaries here present. It's a pleasure to join this gathering to celebrate the African Union Corruption Day. The first thing I want to underscore is the fact that as somebody who works in democracy and development space, it's easy for us to identify the challenges of our continent from the perspective of governance. And even in relating with the rest of the world, we are also constantly conscious of statements like, you Africans, you have governance problem. And that is the way to put our predicament in a very mildest way, mildest sense. When people begin to tell you Africans, you have governance problem, it's a lesser way of telling you Africans, you are corrupt. And over time, as somebody who started out in history and ended up in political science and international relations, I am used to those words. I'm also used to the efforts that our government, especially Nigeria, has put in place to address the challenge of corruption over time. I mean, across time. And I must say, I had a rare privilege in 2023 to
lead a research titled "Imperative of Strengthening Nigeria's transparency and corruption in transparency and accountability in Nigeria." And that singular effort led me to investigating the various efforts that put in place by government in Nigeria to address the problem of corruption. And I can say wholeheartedly and unequivocally that Nigeria as a government has done quite a lot in trying to put in place institutions and systems that will promote corruption. And that we are still talking of corruption today, and even in higher magnitude, is an attestation to the fact that the problem is not just with institutions, it's also not just having system of grant, but there are things that we as individuals need to do to help that cause. So in this sense, or in that sense, some persons have argued that corruption is something that is, if you want to deal with it, is something that should be addressed from the point of from the perspective of behavioral attitude and approaches. And truly, there's something I want to particularly point out. Truly, I'll talk about in terms of norms, in terms of practices, in terms of the law, in terms of, I think, talk it all across the board. The issues will vitally touch on every aspect. But I think where I think that we need to focus more are just two areas: the norms and value aspect of our personal behavior, and the second is investment in technology. Technology today plays quite a lot of role in addressing the challenges of corruption in our society. And I wouldn't want to talk beyond that, but also to acknowledge that across government and across families and across corporate and business institutions are people who daily work and toil to give the country what is deserving of. And in that context, I want us to look inwardly and begin to think of beyond the top institutions that we put in place over the years, what are the other things that are left out of us, bringing our behavior, the norms and value to bear in addressing the challenges of corruption in Nigeria. On behalf of the Center for Democracy and Development, that is largely committed to the issue of democracy and development, because we complain about development today because governance, including the bad practices that are often referred to as corruption, are undermining all the efforts that we made to get our system transformed and get development delivered to the citizens of this country. So on behalf of my organization, I want to thank the agency tag team, the IITT, as well as in particular TUGA, for the big effort they are making in getting Nigeria up in the act of integrity across the country. So I acknowledge the invitation to this event, and I also hope that today's event, we are going to have a change of mind and also begin to see some critical changes with respect to some of the big names or the negative big names we find outside of this country. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, sir. Please put your hands together for me. Well, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I noticed that Dr. Garba actually came in with a paper, but it was not a speech. And somebody had told me that the speech would be short since it's not written. He spoke from his heart and he delivered 7 pages. Please put your hands together for him. At the commissioning of a bridge, I was MC, and the minister for that commission had not read his speech before that day. And his PA managed only to print 1 copy of the speech. we are the PA brought this speech, and in between giving it to the minister, there was the bad wind that came and took the paper from the PA's hand, and the thing went into the river. And the minister gave the shortest ministerial speech I've ever heard. He looked at his PA, he looked at me and the small crowd that had gathered on the bridge, and he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, with my speech in the river, I hereby commission the bridge." The next is a very important speech. And the office of the Attorney General of the Federation is the guardian of the nation's legal conscience. The chamber where justice finds its voice, the Constitution is vibrant defender, and the rule of law is unwavering custodian. It is from this distinguished office that policies are shaped, rights are protected, and the legal architecture of our democracy is continually strengthened. It is therefore the great honor to welcome our keynote address to be delivered on behalf of the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Prince Lateef Fagbemi, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, the distinguished Senior Advocate of Nigeria and Chief Law Officer of the Federation. Representing him is a highly respected legal practitioner and public servant, the Director of Solicitor's Department, the Federal Ministry of Justice, and Gladys Deborah. Please put your hands together for her as she delivers keynote message today.
Heads of agencies here present, development partners, the head sugar, members of the interagency staff team, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would plead that I rely on the already established protocol. Good morning.
Good morning.
The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice would have wished to be here, but for other equally very important matters. So he has asked me to represent him and read his keynote address. So I will proceed to do just that. It is with immense pleasure that I join you today to commemorate the African Union Anti-Corruption Day 2026. I commend the organizers for providing yet another opportunity for Africa to take stock of our collective efforts in combating corruption and strengthening the institutions that promote transparency, accountability, and the rule of law. The theme for this year's commemoration, heading up the promotion of integrity and anti-corruption actions across Africa, aptly captures the imperative before us. It reminds us that while appreciable progress has been made across the continent, the scale and sophistication of corruption continue to evolve, requiring stronger institutions, deeper collaboration, and greater political results. Corruption is not merely a legal or governance challenge. It is a development challenge. It deprives governments of resources needed for infrastructure, healthcare, education, food security, and social protection. It weakens democratic institutions, fuels insecurity, undermines investor confidence, and erodes citizens' trust in government. Ultimately, corruption slows Africa's progress towards achieving the aspirations of Agenda 2063 and the Sustainable Development Goals. The antidote to corruption is integrity. Integrity is the foundation of good governance and the cornerstone of public confidence in government. It requires that public office be exercised solely in the public interest, guided by transparency, accountability, fairness, and fidelity to the rule of law. Nigeria remains unwavering in its commitment to these ideals. Under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, the federal government continues to pursue wide-ranging reforms aimed at strengthening public institutions, improving transparency, enhancing fiscal accountability, and reinforcing the administration of justice. The Federal Ministry of Justice has continued to provide the legal and policy framework necessary to support this reform and ensure that justice is administered efficiently, fairly, and without fear or favor. Our anti-corruption strategy recognizes that prevention is just as important as enforcement. Accordingly, we continue to strengthen legal frameworks improve interagency collaboration, modernize criminal justice administration, and deploy technology to reduce opportunities for corruption in public service delivery. A major pillar of Nigeria's anti-corruption policy remains the recovery and responsible management of proceeds of crime. Working closely with our domestic institutions and international partners, Nigeria has continued to strengthen international cooperation in asset tracing, confiscation, recovery, and repatriation. We firmly believe that stolen public assets belong to the people and should be recovered and deployed transparently for projects and programs that directly improve citizens' welfare. Our experience has demonstrated that international cooperation is indispensable in combating corruption. Illicit financial flows, money laundering, and transnational organized crime do not respect national borders. Consequently, African countries must continue to strengthen mutual legal assistance, intelligence sharing, joint investigations, and institutional cooperation in order to deny criminals safe havens of illicit wealth. Nigeria remains committed to under the African Convention on Preventing and Combating Corruption. We'll continue to work with our African brothers and sisters to build stronger regional institutions capable of addressing emerging corruption risks. However, governments alone cannot win this fight. The private sector must continue to uphold the highest standards of corporate governance, ethical business conduct, and compliance. Civil society organizations and the media remain indispensable partners in promoting transparency, public accountability, and citizen engagement. Equally important, and yeah. Right. Equally important is the role of educational institutions in nurturing the new generation of Africans for whom integrity is not merely a slogan, but a way of life. Young people must be empowered to become ambassadors of integrity. By investing in civic education, ethical leadership, and responsible citizenship, we can build societies where corruption becomes socially unacceptable and integrity becomes a shared cultural value. Ladies and gentlemen, the fight against corruption must never become politicized. It must remain firmly anchored on the rule of law, due process, respect for human rights, and independence of our institutions. Our objective is not merely to punish wrongdoing, but to build resilient institutions that prevent corruption before it occurs. As we reflect on today's theme, let us recognize that scaling up anti-corruption efforts means more than prison investigations or prosecutions. It means strengthening institutions, improving transparency, embracing innovation, protecting whistleblowers, promoting ethical leadership, encouraging citizen participation, and ensuring that public resources are managed solely for the common good. Africa possesses enormous human and natural resources. Our greatest challenge is not the absence of potential, but ensuring that these resources are managed with integrity, accountability, and justice. If we succeed, corruption will no longer define our narrative. Rather, Africa will become known for strong institutions, responsible governance, and inclusive prosperity. Nigeria stands ready to continue working with the African Union, member states, international partners, and all stakeholders in advancing a united continental response to corruption. Together, let us reaffirm our commitment to an Africa where integrity is rewarded, corruption is decisively confronted, and justice serves as the foundation for sustainable development and shared prosperity. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Please, let's
before another round. Say thank you for leading the other. It is something. Without wasting much time, we will want to move into another discussion, the panel discussion, of course. The shoe, what he has thrown to our doors, very important. We want to especially appreciate one who agreed to be with us as pioneer head of the technical unit of governance and anti-corruption, to lay the first bricks of our fortress of integrity, helping to ensure that to transform anti-corruption from isolated battles into a coordinated national movement, nurtured collaboration, strengthened partnership, and planted the seeds that have grown into the vibrant interagency task day that we celebrate today. Ladies and gentlemen, let us therefore honor a trailblazer whose legacy reminds us that when integrity is placed and planted with purpose, generations live the harvest of accountability. Let's welcome Mrs. Liggett. Please put your hands together for her.
On the theme of this event, telling of the promotion of integrity and anti-corruption activities across Africa. The panelists are going to be the distinguished agencies moving from the agency taxing, as well as some of our development partners. Existing statistics show have been recipients of recovered and returned assets globally since the implementation of the UN Convention against Torture. The data by STAR initiative shows that Nigeria has recovered the largest quantity of assets and which has been repatriated to the country. We see how the government is also deploying these return assets. Nigeria is not only the first, but it's followed by a distant second by the Philippines, as in distant. So this is one area where Nigeria has gone very, very well. However, in respect of domestic assets, the jury is still out. A lot is being recovered. We have among us the agencies who are charged with the custody and management of these assets. This morning, they are going to tell us what they are doing in respect of ensuring the integrity within the process and management of the recovery and management of these assets. So I have the pleasure to invite the agencies that are going to give an account of their stewardship and this. I don't Please call to the podium.
Thank you very much. Please put your hands together for her. The others will join us. May I invite Mr. Ali Boziti, Head Asset Recovery and Management Unit, the Federal Ministry of Justice, to join us again. Before our leaders speak, can we just, Madam Jane, can you lead them to take a group picture in front?
Yeah, I think they should take a picture from that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you. We have also Mr. Joseph Banner, Assistant Director of Proceeds of Crime and Management Department, Independent Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC. Please put your hands together for him. Director, Center for Democracy and Development, West Africa, CDD West Africa, Dr. Garuba Dawda. Please put your hands together for three. Dr. Emmanuel Shotan, Chief Operating Officer, Law Enforcement Support and Coordination Section of the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit. We have Dr. Fawale Busayo Ayinla, Director of PRD and SU, Office of the Auditor General of the Federation. And we are also the Assistant Chief Executive 2 of the EFCC, Mrs. Wananje Watan. Please put your hands together for us. I believe every one of us here.
Thank you very much. Thank you, finally. In the course of this thing, the goodwill messaging from the head of agency this morning, I've had very interesting sentences and initiatives in the call. We've had the Catching the Young initiative by the IDPC, all aimed at introducing our young ones to the concept of integrity. We've had behavioral and attitudes approaches and we also have heard about the institutional attitude and approaches to institutionalizing integrity. We've heard about the concept of norms and values, and then the need also to invest in technology and also adopting integrity as a way of life, not just as a so we're going to start first speaker for today. I'm going to call on the representative of the ICT on this panel. In addition to the initiative that you already have, in terms of Catching the Young and the other integrity initiatives you have across the nation, please can you share with us what you are doing to scale up integrity in the management and utilization of recovered assets? You have 5 minutes.
I want to operate on the existing front already started as the front. It's interesting to know that before the advent of COVID 2022, ICT has an enabling act with the Prevention of Crime, which is the Corrupt Practice and Other Related Offences Act, 2000. Specifically, the section 37 of that act provides for the seizure of assets, which will involve through this law or also through other administrative procedures. This has also acted as an enabling law for the Commission to seize assets and manage assets. As time progresses, the POCA 2022 was also enacted to give additional credence to the ICPC Act. And Section 2, Part 1 of the program had also given the establishment of a process of crime management directorate with a lot of functions. And those functions have to do with how the POCND is to operate. One of it is to enforce and administer the provision of the Act. Then take over and ensure responsibility for the proper effective management of the property forfeited to the federal government. In the ICPC, as soon as the assets are identified or recovered, they will be tracked through geospatial technology to their various locations. And after being tracked, they will be marked. When they are marked, they will take custody. Then, in the course of the custody, there will be monitoring, there will be protection to ensure that these assets are not pilfered, they are not damaged, or they are not reduced by various respondents. When they are being monitored in the process, there will be valuation of this asset to actually know the value of the asset. The valuation is done through market price and liquidation price. And while the valuation is also done, this asset will be taken into the record, providing the location, the status, the suspects, and if they are also in court. And by doing that, we have seizures different from internal forfeiture assets, also different from final forfeiture assets. Their status progresses as time goes by. Some assets that were already in seizure tomorrow can become internal forfeiture, and thereafter can become final forfeiture. Then the non-conviction based assets are also taken into consideration, where we have respondents who just seize the asset, they yield the asset to the government by virtue of their conviction that yes, this asset were acquired by process of crime. Even when they are yielded or ceded, the commission will still go to court to obtain final forfeiture from this asset. Now, because of this, some of these assets, to avoid dilapidation or damage, being managed. Because of managing these assets, some private managers are involved, advertise and apply. Most of them are estate valuers who apply and manage these assets. We have a lot of assets being managed presently. Some are shopping malls, some are residential accommodations, even land. Doctors will also manage the land for the purpose of cultivating agriculture. We also have a school presently that we are managing with the collaboration with Federal Ministry of Education, where an administrator is appointed sitting in the management of the school, and the commission also to ensure that the school is well managed. We have people well employed there, we have students running this, attending the school from nursery to secondary level. Now, all of these are also put in place to ensure that these assets, with the press of the bottle, people know where these assets are and their nomenclature and practice as legacy. This is we call the rent, lease, and rental arrangement. Then, apart from that, when the assets have attained final forfeiture status, these assets will be disposed. Now, in the course of disposal too, there's a committee, asset disposal committee in the commission, where the chairman of the chairman of the commission is the chairman of the committee. Civil society organizations are also members of that committee. Other interagency, allied agency of the government are also part of this committee. And such assets are advertised in the media. Now, the commission do not sell this asset directly by itself. That engage the function of auctioneer as provided by POCA. Interestingly, we also have handbooks or manual what is recovery and management manual. I have it here. And first is procedure to how this asset has to be managed. Then we also have disposal manual, where every detail of how disposal is to be done are also enshrined there. So with these activities of the commission, that's got a very, very high level to understand that whatever the commission is doing is highly transparent and is accountable. And all this information are public. Apart from this tangible or immovable assets, we also have cash and cash equivalent or bank balances. These are reported every month to the management of the commission and quarterly, biannually, and annually published in the commission's website. Also share with NFIU and other government agencies, National Assembly. Presently, we have just submitted the half-year report of the recovery, which can be verified. So these are part of what the commission is doing to ensure that whatever the commission is doing has elements of integrity. And interestingly, as a staff of the commission, the law and the internal mechanisms does not permit you to buy any of the forfeited assets, not even your relations. Nobody can buy, so it's already sold to outsiders. Like you also understand on the highest bidder basis. We have just completed one assignment of disposal December 2025. So this is done periodically as more assets attain the status of final forfeiture, provided there are no encumbrances at the point of disposal certificate.
Have given us an insight and we can see that you have overcome some of the challenges and mentioned how to actually allow businesses to operate, not just to steal them, and which usually results in wastage and depreciation of assets. We now go to the EFSC, who is also very active. In particular, apart from sharing with us what we do to ensure integrity in this aspect, we know that transparency is also a key part of integrity. Please also tell us what to do to make sure that Nigerians know what is going on in this process. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. For the ESCC, asset recovery is not exactly new. Even before COVID, the Commission has been very active in the process of asset recovery and management. Yeah, sorry. Okay, I'll try to be audible.
Oh, the mic. The mic.
I was saying that the ESCB has been involved in asset recovery and management even before FOCA. However, with the coming of FOCA, it streamlined our activities and also gives us a legal backing to whatever we do. The things the Commission is doing at the moment, aside the issue, the feature, then the disposal process to ensure that there is to shorten the turnaround time between feature and disposal of assets. One of the challenges that was encountered in the past is the state of recovered assets. But with the coming of FOCA now, what we do for assets that are susceptible to deterioration is we sell even before the annual disposal, because we have in the SOP we have annual disposal of finally forfeited assets. But even asset is susceptible to deterioration, we sell and then we put the proceeds in escrow, even if it is on the interim, pending the final determination of the case in court. And also,
Madam was talking about integrity and transparency. The Commission has introduced the conflict of interest and gift policies to ensure that officers stand by integrity at all times, which is very, very important. And also for disposal, in the past, we usually do the physical disposal, that's auction process, but now we're embracing e-auction, which will make it more transparent and there will be less human failures and the challenges that come with physical auctions and all that. Talk about what we do generally in forfeiture, when we get interim forfeiture of an asset, we have a list of asset management consultants. I think the commission, if my memory serves me right, we have about 9 at the moment. And so these 9 asset management consultants are assigned properties. The properties are always teaming. Every week we have a feature coming in. And so we have to establish procedures in which to ensure that these assets are managed properly. So what we do, we don't just give any asset manager. Any asset manager that will be assigned a property has to have a track record of very successful performance. So we, like for hotels, we have people who are skilled in hotels, we have people who are skilled in managing schools. So these are things, these are the markers that we look at before we assign properties to these managers. And when we assign the properties, where they are expected to bring up a report, we call it rent remittance / report, quarterly. They bring it the first week after the quarter. If like January, February, March, they bring it first week of April. So what we do is we look at the performance and we also look at what they bring in. We analyze, and when there are queries or under remittance, we bring that up and we interface with them and see how they can do better. However, if the non-performance continues, the asset management consultant may be relieved of his duties. And then also, I just want to mention that the recovery process of the commission is felt even by vulnerable people. And I'll give this example because the federal government recently approved for some of the proceeds recovered by the commission to fund the NEL fund and the consumer credit scheme. And also one of the properties we recovered in Kachia North University. It has now become a public institution, and I think about 5,000 students are now studying in that institution. So I'm very happy to share that. So that's what we do basically. For our disposal process, like I have mentioned earlier, it's an annual thing. However, if the asset is susceptible to deterioration, we sell and we put it in escrow pending the final determination of the case in court. If the case goes in favor of the suspect, everything, the money, the interest accrued and the property goes back to the suspect. But if it goes in favor of the federal government, the money is moved from the EFT recovery account to the designated account in the CBN. So that's what we do for general.
Thank you very much. On one or two issues that speak to international best practice. We talked about closing with the program of consumer credit scheme and the school recovered, as well as the funding of NASDAQ. These are very laudable ventures for the use of the recovered assets. However, going forward, I also want to be on involvement of the society, especially the civil society, in your work. Not now, there will be another round, because I mean, you are seeing these properties from people who are generally very powerful, and if they push back at you, how do you protect yourself?
if the citizens will not know enough of what to do. So we'll get back to that. I'm now going to go to the NSIU. I know that recovery and management of sources of crime is a key aspect of the FSTF recommendation, which you're supposed to comply with. Please share with us what you are doing in this regard and how you relate to the agencies that are charged with the recovery and management of crime. Is that NSIU here? They are not okay. They are not here. So we move on now to another critical agency, which is the Federal Ministry of Justice. I wanted to come to you last because you are the general coordinator of this process. But let us hear from you. I know a database was set up not too long ago where you take custody and have the records of all the assets recovered. Please share with us what you're doing in this regard and how you ensure citizens confidence in the process.
Good morning once again. Well, like you rightly said, the Ministry of Justice, in collaboration with relevant organizations, have the duty and obligation to report on the recovered assets that have been recovered by the various agencies and managed by them on the central database. Agencies have been given access to the database, and they are expected, based on the regulation that was issued by the Attorney General, to keep records and also populate on a monthly basis the records of assets that are being managed by them. And this is especially for the purposes of transparency and accountability, so that the general public will have the confidence in the fight against corruption and also embrace reporting or giving intelligence to most of these agencies still to fight and to further the fight against corruption. The agencies, some of them have been populating the database, and then while a number of them have not to date in populating the database, we have quite a number of them, a few of them that have been populating the database. We've done some reminder letters to some of them also. Justice regarding the management of foreign assets, we most of the time coordinate the negotiation of recovered assets from foreign jurisdictions to Nigeria. And in the process of negotiating these agreements, there are factors that are put in place, especially to ensure the integrity of the management of the recovered assets. Because if the international community does not have confidence in the management of these repatriated assets, they will ordinarily not want to cooperate with Nigeria in pending or subsequent repatriation. So for us in the Ministry of Justice, it is very, very key that the process of managing these recovered assets from foreign jurisdiction is transparent for all to see. And often at times, the asset return agreement that is negotiated between the Ministry of Justice and these foreign countries will clearly stipulate the project for which these return assets or return assets will be utilized on. So it's not an issue. So it's not Nigeria is not just at liberty to deploy these assets to whatever project they want to deploy the assets to. We negotiate, agree on a project. Most of these projects are projects that touch on the lives of the ordinary citizens, and that project is identified in the asset return agreement.
There is also the issue of publishing reports and findings regarding the implementation of the asset return agreement, and also the asset return agreement places an obligation on Nigeria and by extension the Ministry of Justice to ensure that certain structures are put in place to ensure that these assets are monitored transparently. And some of these structures that are put in place include the appointment of civil society organizations that will independently monitor the implementation of these repatriated assets. We also have the appointment of independent auditors from the public that will audit the accounts into which these repatriated assets are paid into and then we also have the establishment of a project monitoring team. That project monitoring team comprises of the Federal Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Finance, the Accountant General's Office, and also the civil society organization that is the monitoring entity from the public as part of the PMT. Also, the independent auditors are part of that body also, and the implementing agency that is identified for the particular project. And the reports that come in quarterly are reviewed, and after it's been deemed to be okay, these reports are not only left at the confines of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We now forward from these reports to the counterpart countries that these funds have been returned from. In recent time, Nigeria has executed quite a number of asset return agreements. And the one I would like to talk about specifically is the 2020 tripartite agreement between the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Bailiwick of Jersey, and the United States of America for the return of $352 million. Now, in that asset return agreement, the structures were clearly stipulated, as I have enumerated earlier on, for Nigeria to ensure that they are in place before any contractor is paid or any expenses is incurred from the repatriated assets. And so we went ahead and engaged a civil society organization through completed public bidding from the members of the public. And the Claim Foundation so emerged as the monitoring CSO for that particular project. And also the independent auditor appointed for that project was Deloitte. And besides Deloitte, the project identified for that tripartite agreement was the PIDF project, was under the management of the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority. And so NSIA was appointed as the implementing agency for those projects. And when the funds came in, the funds got to the Central Bank of Nigeria. And the Central Bank of Nigeria, within a stipulated number of days, usually about 2 weeks, repatriated the funds to the NSI's account for implementation of the project. Now, the role of the Ministry of Justice was to ensure that all the structures were reports that were generated quarterly was sent to the United States of America, sent to the Bailiwick of Jersey, and the Attorney General keeping his own copy. So these reports, apart from it being sent, circulated to the various countries, were that were used for the PIDF project, Lagos Ibadan Expressway, Second Niger Bridge, and the Abuja Kano Road are all posted in that website with pictures, and also the NSIA agenda to the scaling up of integrity in the management of foreign assets that have come into the country, and at the same time also coordinating and ensuring that the relevant organizations locally submit their data to the database for purposes of transparency. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. For giving us very detailed information about what you do in the Federal Ministry of Justice. You talked about issues like asset return agreements and what it contains ordinarily, because most Nigerians will not know these details. For instance, I've had people talk about, oh, what determines the projects you're free to undertake? Why the second Niger group? Why not another project in another part of the country? And then a lot of questions about transparency and accountability. And thank you so much for the detailed information we have put out today. And in particular, the need to maintain the confidence of the international community. Most of the time when you go to request your assets that are in their jurisdiction, the question they ask is, how are we sure that these assets will not be used? You have to give us guarantees. You have to put some checks and measures in place. And we can hear today that those checks and measures are in place, including also carrying the civil society along in the process. We now have with us the representative of the NFI, and who is going to tell us today. The question for you is that recovery and management of assets, process of crime generally, is an issue that the FATF usually will require you to be familiar with and report on in the context of the implementation of the recommendation. Please share with us what you do to ensure that Nigeria is compliant with these requirements. And now that we're off the grey list, that we don't run the risk of going back there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I also want to apologize for this case. I had an appointment, dentist emergency appointment, no part of change to the date. We go to the issue straight and forward. The NFIU is an institution that receives, analyzes, and disseminates financial intelligence to competent authorities such as law enforcement, regulators, and including Ministry of Justice. What we do at the NFIU is to ensure that we protect financial integrity of the country in order to shield criminal of our financial institutions. In the past, criminal offenders have been able to use their organized criminal process to buy a bank. So when that happens, what that means is that there is no financial integrity in the country. So the NFIU is the core agency in the country that ensures that all this is being strengthened. So NFIU strengthen financial integrity within the financial institutions and also designated financial business and profession. And how do we do this? Most of the celebrated cases of corruption that are being prosecuted, asset confiscation, assets, things and all that. There were cases that NFIU have contributed intelligence to competent authorities like EFCC, ICPC, and the police and the rest of them, including the NDLEA. What we do is to give them intelligence proactively before they even ask for this intelligence. NFIU have the ability to see illicit funds that is, going on within the system. So we share this intelligence with them to prevent corruption, both at the private level and also at the public level. So public sector corruption, the grand corruption that people normally we are aware with. At the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, we monitor transactions that are linked to government accounts to ensure accountability, to ensure that integrity of officers in charge of accountability in those agencies that are being dealt with. So when we monitor transactions, when we see the trend of direct theft or diversion of funds, what we do at the NFI is to put intelligence report together and send to competent authorities like EFCC or ICPD for them to quickly ensure that the diversion of funds is being prevented. We were in a meeting yesterday with some of our competent authority, and they were telling us that billions of naira worth of assets has been recovered as a result of intelligence reports shared by the NFI. This is the kind of feedback that we get from time to time regarding how NFI has been very instrumental to enhance integrity of projects, to enhance integrity of private sector, integrity of public sector. Also, at the NFIU, we work with other regulators and we share typology studies that we see the patterns in which vulnerabilities are being presumed relating to terrorist financing and money laundering. So this typology study, when shared with the NF, when shared with competent authority, they see the patterns of how offenders from public and private sectors are using diverting funds that are meant for public projects, projects that are supposed to enhance good living, the common good for the Nigerians. So this typology shows how the red flags, action, bribery, and it's also financial institution is like a point. It's like important to them to see. Sorry for that bit of distraction. And so what I was trying to share is that at the FIU, we developed typology study that shows areas where integrity needs to be enhanced in public procurement. And this typology study is on how contracts can be abused, how political exposed person can actually abuse their office to divert public funds. We share this with the reporting entities such as financial institutions. So when they see this typology study, they were being able to know when there is need for them to actually report a particular transaction that is being presumed to be suspicious. We also do a bit of regulatory collaborative efforts with competent authorities that are being shadowed with responsibility to regulate sectors, private sectors that are actually the gatekeepers for the warehousing of illicit funds. So we do a lot in that regard. But in regard of what we have also seen at the NFIU and the recent is that the abuse of technology is what we see, whereby offenders are at the both political exposed person and corrupt political officers are using virtual assets to launder the proceeds of crime to conceal the flows of complex transactions that they are being consummated. So at the NFIU, what we do is to now the uncover aspects that are being concealed using, virtual assets and the rest of it. We, from time to time, send what we call proactive intelligence report to our competent authority when we see these transactions, when we uncover some of these transactions. And this is evidence regarding how all the progress that's been recorded by the EFCC and ICPC. As a result of proactive intelligence reports that we send to our competent authorities. Additionally, just to, is my time going? I will just want to round up this, that not only in Nigeria, anywhere the assets of any corrupt politician is abroad or any outside Nigeria, the NFIU is a member of Edmond FIU, which is the FIU of the globe. We have an exchange. If they want to recover an asset of any person from England, they write to us at the FIU to say, can you help us look at this? Then we share the intelligence with them. When we also receive requests from our competent authorities like EFCC and ICPC to trace assets that is abroad, maybe in Switzerland, we give them this information as soon as we receive it from our counterpart FIU. These are a few of what we do at the NFIU. We cannot really finish the conversation here today, but we are open to you for further details and analysis of what we do, and to give you details of how well we have been enhancing integrity of financial institutions and also the public sector in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
We have seen a very good example of collaboration and teamwork, where people, different agencies contribute in their areas of strength for the general achievement of the objective. Very quickly, we go now to the Office of the Auditor General, who is represented here. What they have done in respect of recovery of proceeds of crime, please feel free to share with us.
Thank you, moderator, and good morning once again to the audience. Today we commemorate 11th July, Africa Speaks with One Voice. The African Union Advisory Board Against Corruption reminder, integrity is Africa's future. Scale it up now. We are here because public funds are not abstract. They are the textbooks in Gombe, the rifles in Maiduguri, the drugs in our hospitals. The question before us is simple. How do we scale up integrity so that every cover works for the people? The mandate, why OAUGA, that's Office of the Auditor General, why does this matter? The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Section 85, 1999 amendment, places a central duty on the Office of the Auditor General for the Federation. OAUGF audits all federal accounts and reports to the National Assembly. To Nigerian and international guests, this is Nigeria's Supreme Audit Institution. Yeah. It is the fourth line of detection in our anti-corruption architecture. Scaling up integrity means three things. One, prevent leakages through strong controls. Two, detect irregularity through independent audits. Three, ensure consequences through legislative action and law enforcement follow through. OAUGF deliver the fourth tool, but it needs you, National Assembly, EFCC, NFIU, ICPC, and civil society to deliver the third. Without consequences, detention is merely documentation. And documentation alone does not build a nation. The journey so far, what OAGF has found. Let me share the journey so far because facts are the foundation of integrity. First, we are exposing systemic fraud, not merely clerical errors. The 2019-2020 audit report laid before the Senate Public Account Committee raised 77 queries regarding the Nigerian Customs Services alone. The allegation is 62.2 billion under remittance between 2017 and 2019. A reconciliation team was set up to conclude coverage into CRF. Second, the 2023 report shook our conscience. Nigeria $24 million for contracts never executed and 3,907 assault rifles and AK-47 missing from police formations. Next, Central Bank of Nigeria, we flagged 3 trillion naira by the office. Several has since issued a 7-day ultimatum for accountability. Third, Ministry of Labour was found with 3.1 billion naira in irregularities. These are not just body queries, distinguished Nigeria and international invitees. They are classroom not built. They are lives not being protected. Third, we are reforming from within. The Auditor General recently inaugurated the Anti-Corruption and Transparency Unit, Act 2, to strengthen the transparency drive. In his word, that's talking about the Auditor General. And I quote, stakeholder synergy is essential to winning the war against corruption in Nigeria. That is why we are all here today. The EFCC, ICPC, NFIU, FRICN, civil society, and our international partners. Supreme audit institutions do not operate in a vacuum. Fourth, we have an existing robust website that embraces ECN, that is Enterprise Content Management. The next, has integrity been enhanced? So has integrity in public fund management been enhanced? The answer is yes, but not yet enough. Yes, in detection and visibility. Audit findings now dominate national headlines. The PAC hearings are televised. Civil society uses our reports to demand action. The conviction of former Acting Accountant General Chiku Nyeri Nwabuoku to 72 years imprisonment for laundering 868.46 million stems from the audit trail, but only partially in deterrent and recovery. And this is where I must be candid with our reporting line, the National Assembly. In 2026, Auditor General Chira Kaito Charter told the National Assembly, and I quote, constitutional and administrative gap, including the absence of timeline for the Accountant General to submit the financial statement, have delayed audit for 2022 to 2025. The Fiscal Responsibility Act requires audited financial statement by October, yet we have backlog. Ladies and gentlemen, when an audit is delayed, accountability is denied. When PAC resolution on 2.69 billion police fraud or 52.2 billion custom query failed to result in recovery, deterrence dies. To Nigerian and international guests, this is Africa's challenge too. Detection without enforcement is like diagnosing a disease but refusing to treat it. The African Union Convention on Preventing and Combating Corruption says what should be scaled up. It's not just a legal text. As African Union of Advisory Board Against Corruption reminds us, it is a call to build ethical societies. So what must a scaling up look like from here? I offer 4 imperatives. 1, reform. We need binding timeline. Let us amend our law so that financial statement reach the Auditor General on time and PAC resolutions have statutory deadlines. Integrity delayed is integrity denied. 2, digital integrity. Keeping IPs and BVN. We must communicate in real time. As ABC says, technology without ethics is not enough. Let us build digitally empowered integrity. 3rd, enforcement loop. OAGF uncovers, National Assembly directs, EFCC and ICPC investigate, the judiciary sanctions. All within 12 months, this is the stakeholder synergy that the Auditor General calls for. 4th, citizen ownership. To civil society and the media here today, you are the amplifier. As the man Paul Adeyemi says, and I quote, 85% of Nigerian problems will be resolved if corruptions were addressed. Simplify our report. Demand action. Protect whistleblower. As EFCC chairman Olukoyede says, and I quote, every whistleblower must point toward truth and evidential proof. Your Excellency, distinguished, the OAGF is the torchlight from 2.69 billion to 3 trillion. We have placed this question on the national table. But the team of African Anti-Corruption Day demands more, scaling up the promotion of integrity and anti-corruption actions across Africa. Means moving from exposure to execution, from audit query to asset recovery, from missing rifle paper community. To our African brothers and sisters, Nigeria is committed to peer learning. To our international partners, like AFROSAI, we work with you as closely as the findings to consequences gap is closed. And to every Nigerian here, integrity is not the Auditor General alone. It is the responsibility of the family that instills honesty, the teacher who refuses to engage in exam malpractice, and the legislature who sits on oversight. Let us live here today with one resolve, that by the next African Anti-Corruption Day, we will not just report corruption, we will have reduced it. Thank you. God bless you.
Presentation. I know that if you're hearing those figures for the first time, your head is totally down. And I have purposely left the big fish for the last, for the simple reason that we have had very good from the Anti-Corruption Agency, from Ministry of Justice, and everything about what we are doing. Very impressive account. But let us hear from somebody who is neutral and it has been very much involved in this process. That is Dr. Dauda Garba. And in particular, what we want to hear from you. We've heard so much about what is going well. What is not going well from the experience you have had in this sector over the years, and what are your recommendations for how we can? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll only just be adding to my goodwill message. The first is to introduce the organization I work for, which is the Center for Democracy and Development. We are a center that is doing and thinking. So we are a do and give tank that is committed to doing rigorous research that provides the direction of policy in the area of governance, in the area of peace and security, and in the area of people-centered development. And we strongly believe that there is a correlation between democracy and development. If any country is practicing democracy and it is not yielding development, there is something wrong somewhere. And that's our concern as a West African organization that was founded by pro-democracy fellows of West African origin who were run out of this sub-region in the heydays of the military rule. And by the time civil rule was coming after the end of the Cold War, they thought of something they could give to their region that will enable the deepening of democracy in West Africa. And that's how we have become an organization that is International Governing Council is people by people from across the sub-region. Let me talk briefly about, I know that I said something briefly about corruption. Whatever CDD does in the area of corruption, as rightly stated, is a failure of governance that breeds corruption. We expect that we should be guided by norms and values. We expect that we should run systems that, if you talk about good public financial management systems, including so open disclosure is something that we expect and teach the work that we do. Then there is also the belief that when all things have failed, the government should waive sanction. And when I say the government, institutions that are relevant, institutions that are delegated to render such responsibility. So every time when CDD does study, they are looking for gaps to which solution be provided. So in that context, it's an organization that is truly interested in system building. That CDD locates anti-corruption as a key area that so through the support of the MacArthur Foundation, they enjoy the privilege of working with all the anti-corruption agencies that are seated here, except for the Ministry of Justice. So in one way or the other, the same way IPT brought us here. That common project, strengthening anti-corruption agencies in Nigeria to enable them to deliver the goods that will provide people-centered development is pushed. And in doing this, in working with institutions, we find out from them what are the key challenges that they face. And there is a sense in which the interaction we face is different. Yeah. This is how we want to do it, and we are expecting the agencies you are working with to check the cost. But we came up with a different approach. And that approach is we engage the anti-corruption agency. We ask that anti-corruption agency, where are your problems? What do you think, if you were to put them on a scale, which of them do you think needs immediate attention first? And those are identified, and we agree on some of the basic things that will be done. We also appreciate the fact that nobody has all the money to do all the work. So you certainly have to prioritize and also begin to look at the hanging fruit and their role in spiraling or triggering impacts that will require overall within the context of the bigger picture. And that has related the relationship, that has guided the relationship between CDA and the anti-corruption agencies. And I'm sure they also said here, and they also tell you that there has never been a time where a project has been imposed. And in doing this, we have had opportunity of funding system. Because one thing we observe, if you are fighting the anti-corruption war, you must have the necessary tools that you require to do that work effectively. So you can't all run an office without computers. You can't run an office without the necessary tools and begin to think that you're going to be catching criminals on a free level. So in that context, we've heard from the office of the Auditor General down to the other anti-corruption agency to tell them to identify their major challenges and how do they want us to intervene, and we have intervened and we are enjoying our relationship. We also ensure that in areas where we are investing in technology with the agencies, we place emphasis on currency of the technology you are deploying. And I'm easily going to give a good example. In my PhD thesis, I worked on oil theft. That's about over 1.5 decades ago. And the issue of stolen oil that is mixed together with other oils from other wells have been a huge issue in dealing with. So when I identified something that was going on within the EFC that they needed to have a laboratory in Port Harcourt, where even if you stole oil from a particular well, if it gets to that laboratory, you'll be able to identify whether this was taken from Shell or Mobil or all other oil companies. It was something I was fascinated to see, given my experience in the field while doing my field work. It got to a point where we realized that a particular machine that is used for those tests was backward in terms of the technology. And even when efforts were being made to look at other areas, I insisted, I have started a process here that took us to this level. Let's jettison the old machine. Good that we have some resources left that we can withhold from the contractor, but let's get a machine that is current that will be able to give us the kind of results that we want whenever we go to the lab to do such tests. So we prioritize technology, and I'm sure you also understand the point of view I was speaking from when I mentioned in dealing with the challenges of corruption. technology is very, very essential. But even in technology, I really want us to scale it to that level where we prioritize prevention. For those who are used to driving in Abuja, let's not make the war against corruption that type you see in some security agencies that are strategically located in our junctions in Abuja here. I don't want to mention any other agency. That when you are driving, you will even hide, so you don't even enter. But they will wait for you to enter before they now pack you and begin to think of what they will take from you. But rather put in place a system that is preventing, that you don't even get to commit the offense at all before you are invited. So that's our interest, and that's what so if you are dealing with the issue of corruption and you are investing in technology, I ordinarily would expect that prevention be prioritized, and where prevention fails, investigation gets inside, and where that fails, whatever thing you are doing to also complement the system, because you do it transparently so that people will not get to. And that's why I'm fascinated with the point raised by the EFCC representative when she mentioned that all these things are information you find openly, even when they are disposing of with confiscated property. They also do that in very diligently. And also my colleague here also made that reference. But we also believe that ahead of all this, when there are sanctions, it's also necessary when you are failed in all other areas. But the new area we entered recently, just before I close my statement, is that we have also identified some states have also picked on established anti-corruption units or agencies that are now also working that we thought that we need to interface with the federal government one, so that they also will learn the rope and the challenges that they are dealing with at the federal level, so that they can also be well informed and prepared against these things. And we are seeing that challenge, and we are seeing those lessons, useful lessons are going on very well. But like I said, two things are still there for us to prioritize in terms of the challenges that we meet. We have serious institutions and agencies that are dealing with anti-corruption. Most of them have also had serious technological platforms that they are using to do their work. But I think continuously would argue that we need to invest in behavioral change. No amount of investment you make in equipment and institution building will make corruption, this country of corruption free, without investing in behavioral change. In fact, the new studies about corruption is actually from behavioral change and doing the requisite technological investment. If we prioritize this area, I am very, very sure that we are close to the hit, and we are also close to those books that are missing in schools, the drugs that are missing in our hospitals, and even equipment, testing equipment, as well as even the roads that are missing all over the country. We will have those money that are lined up in people's pockets that should have actually been doing that work for us. Thank you.
Giving us an insight into your innovative approach of developing development aid, and then also giving us a glimpse into what is not there. A lot is there, but we still have some things that are not there. And in particular, the mantra you have left us with today is behavioral change, which is linked with personal integrity. Thank you very much. I know that you are all burning to contribute in one way or the other, whether in comments or questions, but the organizers have requested that we usher in our next speaker, who is going to give us a very important insight into the role of whistleblowing in the fight against corruption and where we are having a legal framework for the process. I invite the MC now to usher in our next speaker, and after his presentation, we can then take a few questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the panel. Please let's appreciate this panel. Please can we clap for them properly? This of course looks like a very high level one, and we are appreciating the messages we're getting. But to also, as you have just informed us, it's important that we just take all the questions together. So please note your questions down so you don't forget them. We'll take all of the questions after the next paper. Our next speaker has been at the forefront of advancing issues fighting corruption, and also it's not so much for us in the area that he will be speaking about. The Executive Secretary of GOPA, Mr. Ashley Emenike, who will be speaking to us on whistleblower and witness protection in where we are today. Please put your hands together for me. Thank you very much, MC. While I recognize the presence of the Honorable Attorney General, Federation ably represented by the Solicitor General, I also want to stand on the already established protocol of distinguished development partners, institutions, and of course, I want to extend a special welcome to the National Youth Service Corps members who are here, because they are the ones who will take this message forward. Let me just start with the quick African story. There was a witness in a village who saw an armed robbery in process. And the policeman asked him and said, "Did you see the robbers?" And he said, "Yes, very clearly." And the policeman said, "Then would you testify?" He answered, "Would I testify when the robbers even saw me?" So that's the problem. That is the entire problem we're looking at when it comes to witness protection. And I'll come back to where we are today in the National Assembly with these very important legislations. The people are not afraid of telling the truth. They are afraid of surviving after they have told the truth. Now, in Nigeria, we often joke that everybody wants corruption to end, provided somebody else's family is the witness. If it's your family, you don't want to end the corruption, because they say the shout gets louder as further away as you are from the corrupt practice itself. So that is why, to us, I'm not speaking fully on behalf of the National Assembly, but from us, from the point of view of the APNAC, which is the African Parliamentarians Organization of Practice Corruption, it is important that witness protection should not just be a criminal justice issue. Witness protection is a governance issue. It is a democratic issue, because a justice system is only as strong as the courage of its witnesses. And courage alone is never enough. Courage has to be backed by a strong framework. When it comes to this, we're not really starting from scratch when we talk about witness protection and whistleblower protection. In the Ninth Assembly, I had the pleasure of being the advisor to the then Senate Committee Chairman on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes, Senator Suleiman Abdukwari. And we did a great service, under his leadership in the fight against corruption. It was in that Senate that the POCA, the money laundering, and the Terrorism Prevention Act were signed, not just passed, but signed into law by President Buhari at that time. So you can see that the National Assembly has been, collaborating when it comes to, when they want to, when there's reason, when you bring up the issues, they collaborate together, and there's always a legislative consensus to move issues that have to do with the anti-graft ecosystem forward. In that same assembly, Ninth Assembly, we had considered
the issue of whistle blowing. And then we thought then that it would be wise to expand the mandate instead of creating new agencies, to expand the mandate of the Public Complaints Commission. And that bill was SB 644 in the 9th Assembly. It was actually passed by the Senate on the 26th of July 2022, which established a comprehensive framework for public interest disclosures and whistleblower protection with the sole aim of expanding the mandate of the PCC. But unfortunately, it could not go through the Green Chamber on time, especially because it had to do with the constitutional amendment where the Public Complaints Commission is domiciled. So, however, today, where are we? We have 3 fresh witness protection bills before the House of Representatives. And they were all 2 in 2024 and the third one in 2025. The first one is HB 1463. HB 1463, which was sponsored by Honorable Darius von Cholon. It had its first reading on the 5th of June 2024, and that's on my birthday as well, 5th of June. So that was when it had its first reading. The second bill is HB 1563. When you see HB, it means the House bill. If you see SB, the Senate bill. So these are all House bills. Second bill was HB 1563, sponsored by Rotimi Akintunde, and it had its first reading on 21st of November 2024. And the third one, which I will touch on later, is HB 2205, sponsored by Honorable Moshood Kayode Akin, who also happens to be the chairman of the House Committee on Anti-Corruption. Its first reading was on the 19th of March 2025. So all these bills are still at first reading. For it to move forward, it has to go to second reading and then public hearing. Then you see the lady report, and then you have the clause by clause. And whichever chamber it comes from, it has to go to the second chamber. It passes that chamber, it will go for consensus. And the second, the red chamber or the green chamber. And if there are differences, if the other chamber has a different bill, they will now have to do harmonization, sort of a committee to harmonize the 2 bills. So at this stage, these 3 House bills are still at first reading and would require a push to get them to the second one. And these bills, they don't need to compete with each other, because I've touched on the third bill I mentioned, the 2205 bill. Now there's a rule that if a bill is passed by both chambers and by the frustration of time, you can still bring up that bill the next cycle of the Senate or the House of or next cycle of the National Assembly, and it may not have to go for public hearing. That was why I personally tried to push that 2205 to the Honorable Chairman of the House Committee on Anti-Corruption. So if there's a need to fast track or to make it happen, it's still possible that that bill would be the fastest to go, and that would be signed within this National Assembly. Now, like I said, all we need to do is actually, if we're not going to go that route and we'll go to the second reading, we can harmonize the 3 bills to give a stronger legislative framework. So our challenge is here. You can see it's not about ideas. Our challenge in this ecosystem of fighting corruption is about aligning our thoughts and our outcomes, expectations, aligning and be able to coordinate all our efforts and then build a strong legislative momentum that can push us forward. Now, today, we all know that Nigeria has entered another political cycle. We're going to our election. And as we often say, all politics are local. So if you have any interest in pushing in legislation in any sector in the country, you have to have a deliberate and intentional push an arrowhead to push them, because most of the politicians are going back for their primaries and making contacts with their constituents. So the reality may slow legislative momentum down, but it should not stop it. Now, why am I saying this when it comes to witness protection? To me, if you don't have a witness, you won't have any evidence. And if you don't have any evidence, there can be no prosecution. And if there's no prosecution, there's no conviction. And when there's no conviction, there's no deterrence. And when there's no deterrence, there's no justice. And when there's no justice, there's no fight against corruption. So to us, and to many of us here, I believe, witness protection is not about protecting people. It's about protecting the truth. Because once telling the truth becomes dangerous, justice becomes impossible. The point I want to make now is very, very critical. I've heard the names of all the institutions, interagency task team. So many of them, civil society, the executive. But you can hardly hear anything about parliament. You need parliament. Parliament is the foundation of everything we're doing here today. Without policies, all our policies would need legislation. All our institutions require statutory backing. All our budgets require appropriation. All our international commitments require domestication. Oversight from Parliament is what will ensure that our laws and policies and regulations are implemented. So without Parliament, our good policies just remain good intentions. So once again, Parliament is the foundation, which comes back to why I'm standing here today as coordinating the activities of the African Parliamentarians Network Against Corruption, which is the sub-regional body of GOPAC. GOPAC is the Global Organization of Parliamentarians Against Corruption. Now, why is APNAC here today? We're here and we're existing to ensure that whenever Africa discusses transparency, discusses our AML, TFP, beneficial ownership, illicit financial flow, asset recovery, public financial management, whistleblower and even witness protection, we should be there sitting at the table, not waiting outside the room. Because most times when you bring in these legal instruments and Parliament is not aware, it probably will sit down like the hundreds of our instruments are still sitting in the National Assembly without domestication. So, good news, APNAC could actually help to push this process forward. Now, to quickly round up, the three witness protection bills, like I said, should be considered together, strengthened through public hearing and harmonized. And what I would suggest when it comes to whistleblowing is to have a complete standalone framework, standalone. And in Nigeria, to push legislation either comes from the executive through the office of the Attorney General, has the final say in that, or it comes through a private member bill. So if you have anything that is important, if you reach out to the executive, fine. Or if you have your representative at the House or your senator in the Senate, you can push those legislations through that. So, but good legislations, you don't do them in a haste. So I invite every institution here to close ranks and make contact with organizations like APNAC. We are domiciled inside the National Assembly. I also work as the Senior Legislative Aide and President of Senate. So we're in a position to look at what is going on. We see the order paper every day, and we also have access not just to interact with parliamentarians, we push strong advocacy amongst them as well. And I want to thank especially the head of TUGA. Very, very, very encouraging. Even our big madam here. She has always been encouraging me and AFNAC to say that we're not alone in this game. And they have helped so much. Today, we're marking the 2026 Friday. The date was to be 20th and 20th and 21st of this July. But the president of AFNAC, who is the speaker of Ghana, President Obakbin, and the chairman of AFNAC in Nigeria, the Senator Emmanuel Udende, they have met and they've started to recalibrate the dates to make it on September 20th and 21st. So that will be a gathering where we will invite not all the stakeholders, all the institutions, and 26 heads of parliament and from across the continent will come here. And one of the things I know, they always say, Africa is corrupt, Africa is corrupt. I'm yet to see which nation is free of corruption. But we need to do more. We need to collaborate and we need to come together and fight. And let me end on this story. The village chief once announced to the villagers that they have finally caught the big arm robber in the village who has been stealing and robbing everybody of their goods. And the chief asked, but who amongst you saw him steal? There was complete silence. Finally, one elderly man raised his hand and said, this is, and the chief smiled, Baba, so you are our witness. The old man stood up and said, no, chief, I'm not a witness. So I only wanted to ask one question. I said, go ahead, what's the question? I said, before I answer, where am I going to sleep tonight? So that is our problem. It's not that people don't know the truth. Our problem is nobody feels safe enough to say the truth, to speak up. So our responsibility is not merely to ask citizens to be courageous. Our responsibility is to build strong institutions worthy of their courage, because when witnesses are protected, the truth is protected. When truth is protected, justice becomes possible. And when justice becomes possible, corruption, of course, will begin to lose. On that note, I want to thank you all for the opportunity to tell you. May God bless this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anike. Please don't go. I know people have questions for you. Thank you for the update and thank you for all you do and for now, I know we have some questions. We have a few minutes to take questions and allow the panelists to round up. Please keep your questions brief, not more than 50 seconds for the question, and so that we can take as many questions as possible and also give the panelists opportunity to respond. And we start off now. Please indicate by raising up your hand if you have a question and say who you're directing the question to. Yes, there's a hand up there at the back. The gentleman wearing face cap, raising his hand. Can we take the microphone to him?
Thank you so much. I don't know the person that presented the paper, but I remember what he was talking about behavioral change. Very good. It's what we have been hearing every day. But I have a particular belief based on what I learned from my tradition behavioral change is very, very important really to change our situation in Nigeria. But what I think should bring about actual change is when there is institutions or there is something that looks like a deity that will change your behavior by force. Because I remember when I was in my father's house, there is a way we used to behave, and there is a particular way your behavior will be shaped by force in order to conform with the tradition of the community or the society. So what I want us to understand, or what I believe will bring about change in my own thinking, is the institution we are talking about should be like a deity that will redirect our thinking, redirect our behavior, and make us to behave a particular way that will bring about change in the country. Not that we will leave it for us to behave the way we want, because we are human beings, and human beings, being a social being, we can do things that pleases our interest. That interest may stand on somebody's right. And for the fact that this your behavior may not all go well with us, with the other people, either it is for the institution to redirect our behavior.
Next question. There's a lady up there.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. My name is Olamide Oloyede. I'm also a trustee of the African Initiative Against Corruption in Academics. Yesterday, we held a session at the University of Abuja, and we also anchored our presentation on the need for behavioral change, especially amongst our students and youth. That's where we focus, because we believe that they are the future and that change must be bottom up. My contribution is not a question, and we have been saying this since 2006, especially to the EFCC. I told them, and I'm still insisting, that we have not seen improvement, and now we are asking for upscaling integrity. We have not seen improvement in our combat against corruption, because we have been doing the same thing the same way for so long. And you cannot continue to do the same thing the same way and expect different results. It will not happen. We have to change our style of thinking. Thus far, we have been doing the approach of when the us have voted, we now start chasing our style. I've told the EFCC, and I'm reiterating, they need to change their system. Stop using our money to chase after those who steal our money. Ensure that they don't get steal our money. That's what we want to do. Prevent them from taking our money.
That is growing annually. Corruption is growing with it. Why? Why is because of our anti-corruption agency in this nation? Because if you are working and achieving results, by now there should be reduction and not an escalation in corruption. And what makes it so bad is that anywhere we go now, when we bring out our passport, it is then with which we are treated as people. Not because we are corrupt as individuals, but now there is a collective audio of corruption around you. Once we are in the game, and I don't want to change my passport, and I want to remain a change. I don't do that idea. You just need to get things hands on. Devise a system whereby people don't steal our money. Don't go chasing stolen money. Who is constitution says you don't spend a pound to chase after a coin. If I speak to the system, why don't you steal our money?
We will give me discretion. We will pay peanuts to the staff. There is in this same system where you pay peanuts to staff, you give me a wide budget in the area of training. Add that training fund their salary. So that the individual now decide whether he wants to go to training. I now have the discretion of sending my paper for training. Why? We know how nepotistic Africans can be. Once you identify your problem, you already have the solution. Reduce nepotism by reducing discretionary power. So that salary is fat, reduce rent. Thank you very much. Thank you. The emphasis is still on prevention. It's as opposed running after the police. Okay, we will take numbers now. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Finally, number 6 at the back there. So we start now. Number 1, please keep your statements short so that we can get it as many contributions as possible.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ahmed, and the question put in front of you, and the question is to Mr. Libuzi. You mentioned that we have a portal where we upload, and you mentioned that a lot of agencies are not compliant. And I know that's a challenge. But even when you have rules that you have actions, what are you doing about agencies that are not compliant? What do you do to ensure that it's compliant to get away with it? And I'm only saying this because we are going first. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sati. And I hope this is not at all.
We are number 1. We are the forefront.
Okay, good to know.
Washing to work on whistleblowing, issues concerning whistleblowing and witness protection. And one discovery that I made is that the whistleblowing policy of 2016 and the whistleblowing bill, I was expecting the bill to improve on the policy, but I have read it and I have not seen any improvement. Now, this is actually where I'm going. According to the bill, the whistleblowing bill, the policy and the bill, the area of reward that a whistleblower is entitled to a reward of either 2.5% or 5%. Now, the criteria for the reward in both the policy and the bill is that the information that the whistleblower volunteers, it must be truthful, number 1. 2, it must not be speculative. Then number 3, it must not be criminally obtained. Now, who determines what is speculative? Who determines an information that is criminally obtained? Is the government. So, if it is government that determines what is criminally obtained, what is not truthful, what is speculative, how can a whistleblower get justice? So I want to talk on that area because I see the two both the policy and the bill not improving anything.
Thank you very much. I see a developing presentation during the public hearing.
Yes. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. My one is the general comment I would like to make because EHCC
it appears that because this corruption we're talking about today, if you like, in the next 2-3 years, we will see we're talking something because we cannot find solution. You see that we don't know those who are committing this protest for what. They are already there in Nigeria. They are not there. They are not internal people. They are Nigerians like us. Now, for instance, the one that is spending right honestly now, we are hearing fake agency. Fake agency. Now, the question is, this agency actually is a fake, and they have a budget. Who are the people that are going to defend this budget? In the National Assembly, we have committee of finance in the Senate and the House of Reps. Those people will approve this, but the extent that they have an office, and I think that that is number one. Number two, take for instance, in this same country, during the primary of presidential APC primary election, a governor who produced 1 million votes to the primary to the president. Now, in his own election, they are not producing 300,000 votes. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? In the same country. Good afternoon. Yes, my name is. My question goes to the CCC right of about behavioral. Our high institutions in this country are breeding ground for our future leaders. I remember very well a lecturer once told me the final year that when one is so used to exam malpractice, he still answers to that. Upon graduation, he either gets to the corporate or business report. Here, they are no answers for him because it's so much useful. Now we want to he said he meant to do. Okay. So our need to wait as here's our stand down our high institutions. Good moral values that be instilled into our future leaders before they even leave the higher institution. That's one. The second one, on the finance level, our society has so much decay to think that now we have a nation of Yahoo boys models. It's an association of Yahoo boys models. Yes, we don't have it in this country. So what are we doing? Sensitize our parents so that they can instill good moral values on our society.
Madam, thank you very much. From the angle of intentionality, strategy, and result. Now, as I walk in here, I saw lots of documentation, books, a lot of things we've done in terms of effort. This particular project we looked at in terms of for each of the task force agencies, for people who are in the ecosystem, what's our plan in terms of target so that we don't come again next year, we are only discussing progress rather than see milestones in terms of where are we today, what is the gap we have, what is the gap we intend to close the next 1 year, that's strategy. So if we don't go that route, it will be rhetoric of stories upon stories. So for the next 1 year, what is that chunk we want to close? But then we come back next year, how far have we gone in closing that chunk? That for me is critical. Thank you very much.
The final contribution of the gentleman at the back, and that is number 6. Yes.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone.
There's a gentleman at the back.
I was number 2, but I kept giving the mic to other people. Can I speak, please? Very important. Yes, I'm Adike Adefolari by name, the staff of Public Complaints Commission. Yeah, my comment is more of a recommendation than a question. See, charity
You can project your work.
Okay. Parenting begins at home. And they Thank you. Yeah, so it's more of a recommendation than a question. You see, the approach to this corruption thing, I feel if agencies can take it from a holistic approach, you solve the problem from the roots, not from the top. That's the way you quench fire when you go for safety training. You put the fire extinguisher from the base, then the fire goes up. So for me, charity begins at home. You see, gone are the days that when you get a job, your parents tell you more, I'm sorry, permit me to speak Yoruba. Well, they tell you, Rossi, or when they remind you in the house that remember the home you come from. Don't tarnish my family image, don't tarnish your father's name. But you know, that narrative has changed now. When you get the job, your parents will be telling you, shine your eye, open your eye, you know. So things like that have changed the narrative. So corruption is a thing of mindset. I like the approach of the ICCC chairman. You know, he spoke earlier that they go to schools, they sensitize people. It starts from this basic thing. There are few good people in Nigeria, even if you give them $1 billion, they will reject it. So I think agencies should go to secondary schools, universities, and engage them on the need to have integrity. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's finally the gentleman advance. Please keep it brief.
All right, thank you. My name is Alechido David. I work for the Center for Democracy and Development. I want to underscore the point of behavioral change in terms of looking at anti-corruption in Nigeria, but also to make a recommendation to the interagency tax team under TUCA to let everybody here know that there are plenty ways that we can deal with this, but one of the major ways that we can do this is how that interagency collaboration is key to it, including how that the budget in fighting corruption these days is overloaded. I can tell for the fact that all the responsibilities and duties of all the corruption agencies, of the anti-corruption agencies are clearly spelled out, and right from the beginning, you will understand that if the EFCC is working hand in hand with the NFIU, together with CCD and all the other anti-corruption agencies, can go a long way. So it is first and foremost to develop a framework, maybe through the interagency collaboration, the interagency tax team, try to form a framework that can help to, find how these people can work together to fight corruption. And that is my point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for your contributions. Now we go back to the panel that starts with the again. 1 minute to respond to the questions directed at Chief and now. Thank you very much.
Okay, on the gentleman, I think let this thing. As of today, there is no whistleblower station. And there is none enforced in national activities. And it is to be recommended that the fresh one come. And whistleblowing should not be a profession. It should be incidental, not somebody who's part of the company, whistleblowing Nigeria Limited, looking for go with all of veterinary interest. Whistleblowing should be patriotic action. And from there, if there are incentives are good, even the anti-graft agencies, we make sure that in the Office of Crime Software Management Act, there's an incentive there for the software. And there are also different clauses that ensure that there's transparency in how they recover, whether it's injury or filing for pictures, and how they pay into the account. And then finally, I just want to say something about AFNAC again. Now, AFNAC can be very pivotal in the fight against corruption on a national level. Our potential membership in Nigeria is over 10,000. What am I saying? It's not just 10,000 individuals, 10,000 parliamentarians. Africa is open to current serving parliamentarians, for parliamentarians, and those who have actually gone to election to contest as a parliamentarian at the national, at the state, and at the local government levels. And that's our membership potential. So we can cascade policies easily, we can handshake from the national to the state and then to the local government area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Look forward to that. It's very
Yes. Dr. Material, the director of the Code of Conduct Board, I wanted to find out what the ministry is doing with regards to agencies that are not complying with basically the national database. Well, unfortunately, there is no sanction in the act and the regulations to not provide for sanction. However, I don't think driven by a sense of transparency and accountability, and as far as we are agencies that are fighting corruption, we shouldn't ordinarily be reminded to, comply with simple directives so as to make the process more transparent. However, we have to write reminder letters. The Attorney General, we have handed it up to the Attorney General, and he has written about 2 or 3 reminder letters to some of the agencies. And we've gotten some positive response now. They are trying to respond, but we are not there yet. And Code of Conduct Bureau is not part of those agencies. They have actually been populated. Then, on the final note, we cannot but emphasize transparency in the management of politics of crime. Because if we are transparent in the process and it's clearly to the public, then the fight against corruption will be enhanced. And talking of whistleblowing, they will be willing to bring forth information to assist the relevant agencies too. Because when you see that each the properties that are recovered are able to do that encouragement is naturally called for the people to share information. And also the international community will be willing, more than willing, to continue to partner with Nigeria with regard to foreign repatriation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm calling from the ICCC.
Okay, for my brother who talked about the policy and the Enabling Act or bill, section 64 of the Corrupt Practices Legal Justice Commission Act 2000 provide for the protection of informants, whistleblowers. But an addendum to that, if you have an issue that you want to report, in the commission we call it an intelligence. Give the commission an intelligence. However, you got intelligence will not going to be an issue. The commission will take it off from there so that you will not be suffering from the problem of obtaining the information legally, formally, or informally. But once you have some element of intelligence, you are very, very much free to come to the commission and report. The commission will take it off from there. I also want to, for others that we talked about, ending corruption or stopping corruption or preventing corruption from even happening. Sometimes we do easier to say about it. But the commission also, in our mandate, we have the concept of system study and review. We review systems and see any possibility of loopholes, we block it. And from our end, it has gone a long way to reducing corruption in many areas. Corruption is part and parcel of human life. Otherwise, the question is, can we stop stealing? Can people stop stealing? Spiritually and otherwise. If we cannot stop stealing, it's difficult also to end corruption, we can reduce corruption. And finally, according to Robert Kliger, he defines corruption as the monopoly plus discretion minus accountability. And because of my different other engagement, I have been able to observe that if you want to achieve integrity, the processes and the procedures should be written. Otherwise, you have inspiration. Many of us who are in different positions of authority, we use a lot of inspiration in many of our activities. But if the procedures and the processes are written, I'm sure it will also achieve integrity and reduce corruption. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Garba. They are saying you should draw the behavioral change. Draw it so that we can see the picture.
Yes, I think, sincerely speaking, it's not easy, especially when we go to the behavioral change talk, knowing fully well that we all stay in a social society and human beings being what they are. Even twins that you give back to are the ones at the same time from the womb tend not to behave the same way. But the fact remains that, and I know something fundamental has also been mentioned about, especially for the fellow who mentioned the higher education fee. The degree every one of us holds here is awarded on the strength of being worthy in character and learning, which in itself underscore our belief in norms and values. But most of the time, the degree is awarded on the strength of your academic ability. And if you dig deeper, even today, there are those who, despite it were awarded on the basis of academic ability, there are still other fraudulent ways or even any demands that some people have. Otherwise, so much talk about bribing or blocking or sorting, trying to remember all the languages we use for this thing now. They are also an underscore of something that is wrong with our behavior. Somebody mentioned that you don't even know that there are Yahoo models as well. If you sit there and begin to think at the higher education level that the problem is what who are doing this at the level of primary and secondary school. There is a current video that is circulating around, and what is the statement? That contemporary parents are very lazy at parenting, but hardworking in looking for looking for wealth for the family. But if you fail at the level of parenting, who else are you, looking for the money for? So these are, I'm not saying that I have a solution to it, but I'm only directing that this is a new trend in terms of the study of corruption, that behavioral approach is what people are now looking at. And how do we do this? We need to all, buy onto this and don't feel that, oh, I'm not part of this. It is those who are, even when you are taking good care of your own children, you are a good parent at home. But the fact also remains that as long as you stay in a society that is, peopled by others who are not well cultured, you will still going to have your own negative impact of this. So if you ask me to give you the solution, I'm not sure that I have an immediate one I'll be offering the country, because that wouldn't even be too big a service I will render to Nigeria, assuming I have it to do. But it's going to be, let's collectivize what is required to put our children or put ourselves on that behavioral track that will lead us to being a country that is free of corruption. Thank you.
Very much. Just respond to the questions and then your final.
Yes, I want to talk about collaboration. I believe someone mentioned it, I think the last speaker. Nigeria was on the gray list. It took the collaborative efforts of every head of agency here or the relevant organization to take Nigeria out of the gray list. So I think we should have at least a bit of credit on that part. And then for the lady who talked about prevention, for the EFCC, we have prevention mechanism through sensitization. We're on X, we engage the public on Facebook, we have Eagle on radio, we have Eagle on TV, and we also interface with schools and other institutions. And also, I want to talk about what Madam Lillian mentioned earlier on CSO. The EFCC is actively working with civil society organizations, and the one that comes readily to mind is CISLAC. They are engaged with the processes and activities of the Public Affairs Department through public enlightenment and reorientation, and also our disposal processes, be it auction, be it sale, be it restitution, destruction of property in the interest of the public, or even transfer to government agencies. And then the pushback Madam Lillian also talked about is not uncommon for the EFCs. I mean, just last week, members of my department were tear gassed when they went to enforce a court order, a valid court order. And our enforcement and execution is always anchored on the valid court order. But when there is dissatisfaction on the part of the suspect or multiple parties, we face this pushback. But then again, we always explore avenues to ensure peaceful takeover of properties. However, when this fails, we have a backing in the process of crime recovery and management act that says when a forfeited property is not given up at a specified period of time, the authorized officer from the relevant organization can actually break in and take possession of that. However, the public, most of the time, do not understand this aspect. They see it as brute force. But when we talk about management of properties, it actually comes in the interim forfeiture. When the property is final, there's no need for management. And the purpose of managing these properties is to ensure that the value of this property is conserved. So that whichever way the case goes, whether it goes in favor of the suspect or it goes to the federal government, there is no loss of value. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Viviana from the Auditor General. Thank you very much. I listened to the comments and the questions, and I want to address the one that told Suga to try to bring all the tax agencies together. I have it with authority that Suga led the agency's tax team on transformation and formulation of policies which work towards fighting against corruption in this country. And we have a committee, a standing committee for that matter. To the stakeholders in the House fighting against corruption, I want to remind all of us as agents of change that a quality public outcry will enhance anti-corruption war positively. And also, we should always mention it to those here that care to hear that integrity delayed is integrity denied. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's very, very fascinating what we are discussing this morning. And for me, I think it is very important to echo that we have to demonstrate integrity within the circle of influence. What can you influence as individual? And what kind of integrity have you contributed to that? Some of us, I mean, many of us seated here, we have children. And this is a circle of influence in terms of how to enhance integrity in relation to corrupt practices and bribery. So we need to ensure that we demonstrate leadership within our circle of influence. And that's we cascade to behavioral change that has been, discussed. When we're looking for what stick approach, we know what, but what can we do within our own circle of influence? And it starts from my home. It starts from the leadership you provided in your office. What kind of leader are you in your office? And we have to be very, very proactive. And that's why NFIU we pay more priority on proactive intelligence. So that by the time this intelligence is shared, we can actually stop the leakages that my brother speaks to in terms of gap analysis that were put in place regarding strategy. It's not that we don't have anti-corruption strategy, but there are leakages. But how well can we do the gap analysis to ensure that we continually follow the leakages and putting a kind of a pushback mechanism to prevent those leakages? So that's what I want to say, and I believe everyone here, when we go back, we need to rethink what kind of influence do you have that have contributed to where we are in this country today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Eze of PSC has an burning issue that he wants to quickly. Within 1 minute.
I don't have one. Can someone help? I just wanted to quickly respond to my brother and madam behind, who suggested in their comments that it seemed like the EFCC was even enjoying the.
Sir.
The
Sir, can you look at us?
I mean, bigger budget, bigger building.
Tell you to look at us, not the camera.
Okay. Let me quickly say that's not the case. It is a case of EFCC is experiencing a mandate expansion. We are growing. Okay. What that means is that before now, EFCC was focused on investigation, but EFCC has grown. EFCC has grown to massive asset recovery. I mean, to bring us out of the 2025 great list, EFCC had to expand into compliance with global standards. I mean, those things cost money. But today we're all benefiting from coming out of the great list. Nobody's talking about that. You can swipe our card anywhere in the world now. Nobody is talking about that. This costs a lot of money. Secondly, let me quickly jump. I don't have so much time. Now we're having increased numbers. If you check our annual report, if you go online to our website, massive number. Even people want to bring their domestic matters, I mean it, divorce cases to EFCC. No, not jokes. But we in EFCC consider that to be a function of the trust. That they believe that when they come to the EFCC, they will get results. Okay? So it's not that, yes, we are neat. The numbers are massive, the numbers are increasing, but it is public trust in our view that we are channeling to scale. I don't know if that makes sense. What that means to the EFCC, therefore, is that, hey, we are having all of this coming in, but we are determined not to drop the ball in any way, For instance, we're talking about prevention earlier. We have all kinds of, especially under the chairmanship of Mr. Laolukwele, a lot of effort is going into the matter, not even going to investigation at all. That is why there's so much relevance in that which is going on today around collaboration. I round up by saying this. Just earlier this week, the heads of the the heads of several anti-corruption agencies met at our boardroom in the ACC 10th floor. And what were they discussing? They came and they resolved at this collaboration and partnership. I tell you that because I heard the secretariat. They came out with a draft position saying that all of the bureaucracy, all of those things off. They want to be able to share information, share data, compare notes on an ongoing basis. To what end? So that even the big EFCC you are saying is big, it's not big enough. We are bigger together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that's one final word. And don't hurry away. I want you to have a bilateral with the lady from the podium. You'll be surprised to hear Christy. Don't hurry away.
Thank you very much. Please put your hands together for the panel. With the kind permission of the head of agency here and the head of 10JUL,
we want to just quickly ask the panelists to remain here, and then we'll invite the person who will do the vote of thanks. We'll take the vote of thanks, and afterwards we'll take the group picture, and it will be time for us to run away. But so remain seated, you're still chairman and chair lady of the seats that you occupy. We want to thank the EFCC for that intervention. I have told the young man I was doing a panel, and I said, do you have a business idea? He says, I have a business idea, but the only problem is EFCC. I'm still trying to get a solution for him. Do a business that the EFCC will not ask questions about. But we have to move on very quickly. I think we've had a wonderful time today. We are invited to speak on behalf of the Interagency Tax Team, the Director of Proceeds of Crime Recovery Management Department in the Code of Conduct Bureau, Dr. Fatima Kere Ahmed, to do the vote of thanks. Please put your hands together. Let's clap for her, please.
Thank you very much for inviting me over. And I just want to say this is one of the most interesting anti-corruption deals. It's very easy to me and it's very, very interesting. I'm sure everybody had a great time. Distinguished guests, heads and representatives of our anti-corruption agencies, development partners, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Interagency Task Team on Anti-Corruption Agencies, in collaboration with ROLAC, UNODC, CDD, I sincerely thank you all for your presence and valuable contribution to this high-level seminar commemorating African Anti-Corruption Day. We particularly appreciate our keynote speaker, panelists, moderators, our special guests who unfortunately have left, but we appreciate them. I have to actually stop a bit to appreciate our dear Madam Lillian. I know someone has mentioned Suga. Suga really has, I think Suga is now officially the Secretariat of all anti-corruption activities. And we have to thank Madam Lillian, I have to thank Jane, Bosaje, and your entire team. Honestly, you guys are doing a good job, and I'm an advocate for coming together, bringing everybody together. And like Mr. Eze says, we're stronger together. We are definitely stronger together. And we must also never forget that we must go back to the National Assembly and we must find a way of working together. I think that is very, very critical. And that's something we must take note of. Our special gratitude goes to all our anti-corruption agencies, our development partners, ROLAC, UNACC, CDD, and civil society organizations for your collective commitment demonstrates the fight against corruption is a shared responsibility. We look forward to translating today's discussion into meaningful action. Thank you once again, and we wish you all a safe journey back home and happy weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We'll now invite members of the panel to join the leadership in front. I think we can do the picture at the front here. The rest of us, please just remain seated. There's special information I need to pass to you. And it's only for those of you who will be seated. So please let's take this picture. I'll advise that you sit down. Thank you. Just be seated and watch this proceeding.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we can join them. Let's join them, those of us in front.
Let's make a EFCC.
For those of you still sitting, thank you very much. We appreciate you providing members of this audience. Now, the information I want to pass to you is that lunch has been served. You have them already. We will now stand up and take the national anthem and formally close. My name is Ben 200. Half human, half amazing, and I'm honor being your MC for today. Can we take the national anthem?
It's okay.
Thank you very much. God bless you. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Why do you have